should we move a bit more to the future? What do we think is next? What do we want to be next? I mean, for you, obviously you kind of said, oh, like cancellation or hiatus or whatever, but
I
if they
don't
are going
want
to do
that really,
more,
though. I
yeah.
don't want
But
that really.
let's be practical. If they are going to do more with Billy,
Yeah.
which it seems like I suppose they're gonna. Well, they kind of they've put themselves in that corner now, so like that's the next
They've
thing.
written
It has to
themselves,
be.
yeah.
So series or specials, what would you do? Would you have it just be a temporary brief thing, or like fully commit to it?
I think they've got to fully commit to it because the problem
Mm.
is that if they do the specials again, they're just going to be like, hang on a minute, this is David Tennant 2.0.
Yeah,
What's
and it
going
looks
on
like a
here?
gimmick,
Like,
and
oh, are we doing this to soft launch Doctor Who again? Maybe not a good idea considering how it went the first time round.
I think that the best thing they could do really is to
Is a full
just
series.
a full series, full time Doctor, and just don't even. Well, they wouldn't be able to stop themselves from referencing it at least once. The whole thing of, oh, I used to fancy someone with this face or whatever. I used to have a
Yeah.
companion with this face. But actually, in practice, they wouldn't need to reference that a lot. It wouldn't
No.
need to be a plot point. And this, by the way, this is assuming as well that she is the Doctor because they haven't actually confirmed that yet as well, and we've talked about that previously. But like, yeah, because the thing is, nobody else that she meets is going to know that like Rose Tyler is a thing because she's in like a parallel universe somewhere. Like, no one
Oh, yeah,
else
absolutely.
she meets is going to say, "Oh yeah, oh, I recognise that face. That's Rose," because she's not going to meet anybody else who would know Rose or who would recognise her. I suppose like Kate Stewart would say, "Oh, well, we've got like a photo of
A
her
file
that
on
we
her.
got in the or a file, yeah, somewhere, like a folder." But I
You're
think
on the list of
actually,
the dead.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. To be honest, yeah, exactly, as Jack said, yeah. But like, I think that there's an opportunity to do something there. And again, it's
Interesting.
back to that point of whether they actively chose this course of action or whether they're kind of slightly lumbered with it now of like
Forced by
we've
the
got to do
hand.
something forced by the hand exactly. But I think yeah, that would probably be the best way to go with it really, and they could actually defy critics and everything by going in a really fresh direction,
Mm.
not referencing the Rose thing at all,
At
or
all.
just like a little bit to begin with, and moving on from that a lot. Don't do a big mystery there of how she's got the face or why, because
Yeah, but
that
you
stuff's
know
it's
Russell
not
T
interesting.
Davies.
It's not interesting,
You
even
know
with
Russell T Davies.
well, even when they did it with Capaldi, that was a bit like the reason in the end was nice enough, like to hold me to their mark, to remind myself that I need to help people and save people. But we waited like until halfway through series 9 to get that explanation, to get to that point. Yes, it plays into the whole Ashilda thing and the Dr. Clara climax there, but I don't think the payoff to that kind of stuff is ever really interesting. I'm actually in the minority where I think the payoff for the 14th Doctor's face coming back, I quite liked that in the end. Like people say, oh, there was no explanation, but it was to do with him, I suppose, reminding himself that he's getting on a bit, he's getting old, he needs to kind of slow down, all that kind of stuff. I know mileage varies on how satisfying a payoff that was because they kind of hyped it up a lot as, oh, there's going to be this big reason, stay tuned, a bit like with Belinda looking like Mundy Flynn, and then that again, it's like a kind of a waffly destiny thing. Like I always had to meet you because of Poppy or something, whatever that was. And then of course that ending is scrapped entirely in the reshoots and
Bin
the,
it.
the reworked version of the episode. But yeah, I think that is writing yourself into a corner. Don't do that. Don't make a mystery of it. Just actually
This
run
is
with
fresh.
it and
Just-
yeah, like pretend
like-
that never happened, like the Rose stuff. Just go in a different direction. I think that would be the best way to do it. And now they're in that scenario, they're in that situation. These are the cards you've got. That's what I would do.
I'm going to predict because it's not as much as we want it to be a series. It's going to be a set of specials. I'm going to predict the next set of New Who, Doctor Who specials because Russell did not think he had done enough for the 20th anniversary of the revival set. They are coming soon to a home near you. Right. So the TARDIS, the Doctor.
Okay, here we go.
So
Right.
Jodie alludes to it.
Yeah.
15 is like, I better not get this wrong because this could be our last face.
Yeah.
In the event, the 15th Doctor has got it wrong. This is an exclusive for you all. The 15th Doctor has got it wrong. He is dead. Catatonically, he has dropped dead, no pulse. What has happened is the TARDIS is somehow brought him back to life by embodying itself in the Doctor's body. So now the TARDIS is a person. So you've got your TARDIS as a person. It's taken on the entity of the bad wolf Rose Tyler, because obviously Rose looked into it. And this would be a very Russell way of explaining it. And I am almost for a fact certain David Tennant will be coming back. He'll be sat in his garden. And what is going to happen is the Doctor is dead at this point. Because Billie Piper has gone on record to say that the 10th Doctor and Rose Tyler's ending isn't quite right because she ends up with the human version of him, and she didn't believe that was right because it was a bit like, you know, when you're upset when the beast turns into the human and Belle starts loving she said, oh, that feels wrong because I always feel like it should have been the original. What's going to happen is the TARDIS and the 10th Doctor, or 14th Doctor, correct that in the edit, are going to get hitched, have a load of kids, and there's the spare TARDIS in the corner. So he can literally travel with his TARDIS.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. It could happen. I mean, that TARDIS is there. The 14th Doctor has been parked there as well. You know, they're probably thinking in the back of their minds as well, like, oh, if things don't work out in the future, we can always go back to this. However, well, dumb a choice that would be, basically, or, you know, in the eyes of certain people. But, like, I mean, I suppose that's the thing. Like, now
it's
that
all
she's
there.
back in some form, then they're not going to pass up the opportunity to have her
to meet them,
reunite and all that stuff, you know.
But they passed up 10 and 14, so
they did. And actually, even then, like, I thought, oh, get some scenes of the 10th Doctor, some flashback stuff, make it a multi-Doctor story where it's Tennant v Tennant, or you know, even then get back Billie Piper. I was kind of surprised they didn't do it for the 60th, or getting back other companions or characters. You know, because that would have been a sensible time to do that. And now it's like a little bit more, this doesn't look or sound right. Like, we should be going in a fresh direction here. So, yeah, I mean, I suppose that's that with that. We've talked about that a lot. I want to throw in as well something that I've talked to you about beforehand. But, you know, watching the Unleashed thing that went out this week, and it got to the 11th Doctor bit, and you know, Stephen Moffat saying, "Oh, I WhatsApped Matt Smith this morning before doing this interview to say, oh yeah, it's been 15 years since we did this series, the 11th Hour and Series 5." And apparently Matt said back to him, "Oh, I wish I was still on that set now." And I've just been thinking for a while now. It's crystallised a bit in the past few days. You know, we're both on TikTok now. We both do TikTok stuff. I see a lot on TikTok
11 edits
of not fans or not, you know, massive fans, just like casual fans. I mean, a lot of people say, oh, like, David Tennant was my Doctor, but a lot of people also say Matt Smith, or like, oh, actually, like, controversial opinion, guys, I preferred Matt Smith to David Tennant. That's not massively controversial in like Doctor Who fan circles.
He's still a popular Doctor. He broke America. He is a part of why it became such a global institution. Like, fair enough, David Tennant made it a success in like Britain, so it could build itself up to that level. But Matt Smith is the guy who broke America. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I think that era is still, it's a roundabout way of saying basically I think it would be very obvious, or like a missed opportunity to not bring him back in some form, because that era, actually, the more you look at it, it is so fondly remembered, or kind of just as fondly remembered, maybe not quite to the same level as Tennant, but it's kind of not far away, and there are a lot of people that talk about and they're coming out the woodwork and say, you know, oh yeah, like those seasons with like the 11th Doctor and Amy and Rory and River, and you know, that stuff was all great, and Stephen Moffat and the Silence, the Weeping Angels. And I think actually if they were going to play on any aspect of the show's recent past, if they had to go down the nostalgia route and do something,
bring him back
rather than going forward and fresh, do a special with the 11th Doctor, Amy and Rory, and Moffat can write it, you know, Murray Gold, go on then, you can do the music. I mean, can you imagine like the shivers people would get
cinema
from hearing that again, hearing his theme,
cinema screening, I Am the Doctor. Literally, it would be fantastic.
Yeah, like, because I was thinking, you know, what haven't they done yet in terms of this nostalgia stuff? What is left that's still untapped and would really get a big response and pull people in, and a wide audience, a wide appeal. It's realistic. Matt has said in the past, you know, that he's basically admitted that he left too soon, or you know, he wanted to continue. He kind of regretted the choice a bit afterwards. Arthur and Karen have spoken about it very fondly as well. I think they've all
I don't know
said,
you'd get Karen back, but
well, I think if she was able to make it work, she would do it. 'Cause she did that show with Moffat last year, which was cancelled. So I think, I mean, she would be the hardest one to get for sure. But they've always said we would do it if it was
as a
with
trio.
all three of us, as a trio. And so if they could secure that, and I think Moffat would do it as well. I just think, and you wouldn't even have to explain it. You wouldn't have to bring it into the lore. It wouldn't have to be kind of the continuation of Doctor Who. It could just be a special or a series of specials that exists in its own place.
Some point in the timeline, Series
Storm.
6,
Yeah,
or something like a random episode.
You don't have to explain why they look older or any of that stuff, or you don't have to constantly have this massive mystery about why are these people back? Why are these faces back? Just to hell with that. Just do it because people would love it, and yeah.
And it would have been a better spin-off. It would have been a better spin-off than War Between the Land and Sea, which is up and coming.
Is that our segue?
Because what you could do is, I'll finish up this. Not just Matt Smith. You could finally do that Paul McGann story because he's game for it.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
You could do one episode.
That's the one everybody always says. And Joe Marston as well. And I think with Paul McGann, it's been so long now that if they were going to do it, sadly, I think they would have done it already. They would have done it. I think, that's kind of all we're getting. Maybe apart from the odd cameo in the future, like with the Power of the Doctor. But I think with Matt, there's obviously still time because he's a relatively younger Doctor. I think with Joe Marston as well. I mean, again, that feels like something that we're never quite going to get. We're never going to move beyond those cameos here and there. But bringing her in, well, sure, if they brought her in instead of Billie, it wouldn't have caused the same amount of buzz, but it does feel, again, like a missed opportunity. If you have to go back to an old face, call back, why not do something with her? Like, if we're in this state of limbo where, everything's up in the air and we don't have to have a new Doctor straight away, she's right there. She's willing to do it. She would do it at the drop of a hat. So yeah, there are things like that, like her, like Matt's. We've had Jodie back, and that's too soon anyway. Capaldi wouldn't ever come back, really, would he? Sadly, but I think those or Eccleston. But I think those are two opportunities there that are kind of just sitting. I particularly think, I feel strongly with the Matt thing. The more I've thought about it, is like there is a chance there, and that's assuming, by the way, that he would want to come back and they would all want to do it. But assuming they did, there's a chance to do something really special there, I think, and to really tap into that nostalgia for those people that are a little bit younger than the Tennant people, the Tennant fans. And I think now, around this time, would be the perfect time to do that. But I don't suppose it'll happen. But, it would be nice. It would be nice.
Who knows? I think it's the way forward, though, because, we haven't even mentioned the cinema screening made bank. I think, did it come... Yeah. 7th or 8th in the day.
It made it into the top 10 or whatever it was. Yeah, it was on the list. Yeah.
So it's just if you were to do these specials and then do a cinema release with them as well.
Yeah.
If they were on a shoestring budget, whatever, but just the amount of potential there is there that we're trying to farm this golden age that is the Tennant stuff. There's a whole other load of stuff that people would equally love to see and probably prefer to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but give another era a chance. Give another era a go. Just do something a little bit different.
As for the future, War Between the Land and Sea, will Billie show up in it?
I don't think so.
Not at the end or anything.
Well, because originally there were rumours, weren't there? We've talked about this already, but there was a leak months back. It was like, Mel's going to die. The Master's going to be in the War Between, and Season 2 is going to end with Ncuti losing Mel and kind of becoming more reclusive, the Doctor and the Snowman and stuff, and kind of going away for a bit. And that's why he's not around when the sea level stuff's kicking off.
Which might make sense.
I personally think that's a load of rubbish. A bit like that leaked dialogue that was going around, which so clearly now wasn't true, or wasn't real. So you have to kind of be wary of stuff. Take it with a pinch of salt, exactly, which is a topical analogy to use. But Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think from what we've seen, and people have been saying, oh, like, oh, they're not using any of the Doctor Who branding on this show, are they? And to be fair, I think with all previous spin-offs,
Plus is a
that
prime example of not
it's
using
always
it.
been, well, yeah, and it's always been the point of them in a way to actually stand on their own 2 feet, and they're meant to be shows in their own right, which then maybe get people interested in Doctor Who and bring them in, but not really the other way around. So actually, okay, fair play if they're not going to play on that much. The whole Doctor Who link. You've got Kate in there, Colonel Ibrahim and Shirley. Are they the only 3 characters? Or well, there's definitely some unique characters at least. Maybe more,
Isn't
maybe
there the
less,
guy
but,
from
like,
Children of Earth?
yes, the
Yes.
most obscure callback ever. But no, on the whole, like, I'm looking forward to the War Between. Actually, I think the trailer looks good. I know you've been a bit more critical of it and the whole the whole concept of it. The timing certainly isn't great, and I've speculated that based on stuff that Russell said at the start of this era, when there was a lot of publicity and a lot of stuff being said, a lot of magazine columns, and they were a little bit more transparent than they are now. He was teasing this project, this big thing with an 8-word title, I think as early as his first Christmas column, which he does every year in the magazine in 2022. So I wonder whether, and this is pure speculation, but I wonder whether this was actually meant to happen earlier between the first
season
2
1
seasons,
and 2.
which would have made more sense, wouldn't it? And in the event, they've made it work. It's quite nice now because the whole thing with Kate kind of going too far, perhaps, in Lucky Day, has been set up, and that's been used as a kind of backdoor pilot for it. So it's been nice the way things have worked out. But it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever if they came out and said, actually, this was meant to happen earlier between the 2 seasons to kind of really capitalise on that potential new audience, or, pulling in new viewers and stuff. And as things are, the fact that it's like the only confirmed thing, like in Doctor Who universe going forward,
this could be it.
Weird. It could be it. I don't think it will be. I don't think it will be. And people have said that. And it'd be quite funny if it was. But
Go out on
I
fish,
don't know.
people.
History will judge it all, won't it? I suppose what you can say at least is that the fact that it's happening between 2 Doctors is quite nice in a sense, because the fact that he's gone off to regenerate and do all that stuff could sort of explain like why he's not around, or she now,
Yeah, but that's not intentional.
We know when
they wrapped filming on this. I bet they've had to edit a load of this because didn't they wrap in December? Yeah, didn't they wrap in December? So therefore, the regeneration wouldn't have been shot, so they wouldn't have known he was going.
That's true.
So is there going to be a lot of cut dialogue? Like,
I don't think. The thing is, I don't think the Doctor will be in it, or was meant to be in it. I don't think they'll reference the Doctor loads. It'll be more like the Doctor's hand in Torchwood, where Captain Jack says, "Oh yeah, like I travelled with this friend for a bit, But it's just a very throwaway thing, or like, Kate's saying, "Oh, there's someone who'd stop me from going too far if they were here." But like you say, I mean, it's all but been confirmed, really. The stuff, the reshoots, including we think the unit scene, the final unit scene from Reality War, that was shot as part of the reshoots in like February or whenever it was. So in theory, actually, technically, that's the last or the most recent thing filmed on that set with that unit cast. So the chronology of it is really weird, because we're technically going to be watching something now that was shot before that point, even though it's actually chronologically the next thing in the story.
Hey, it's all timey-wimey.
It's all timey-wimey, isn't it? I suppose it shows that, well, it doesn't show they're not going to die, does it? They could still kill them off. That'd be really weird. Imagine if they killed off Colonel Ibrahim, and then the actor had to come back for the reshoot, and it's like, oh, I'm still alive. Like, that would be wild.
Listen, they've killed them off before in Empire of Death. They've all kicked the bucket.
That's true.
Before,
That's true.
So
they're all immortal by this point, aren't they? Yeah.
They're just part of the furniture.
Mm-hmm.
I hope Kate gets more to do.
Oh yeah, I think she's been on an upwards trajectory in recent years, so I definitely think she will. Really?
Nah,
you don't think so?
This finale,
when was she
man.
best for you? What's her best outing been?
Lucky Day, and now she's downhill.
Oh, okay, so it's been a peak and then a trough. Yeah, okay, fair enough, I suppose.
I think we're all family.
Yeah, actually, that wasn't great. She did kind of revert a little bit to that kind of Magician's Apprentice kind of character, or like Death in Heaven, where she's like asking questions of the Doctor, and she's less of an authoritative figure in herself. She's like answering to him or to someone else.
But what could have been a nicer bit in that finale is, you know, when Shirley turns round, like, because people have mentioned this, the whole thing about how Shirley lives that society under Comrade, and she goes, "Oh yeah, when there's no way that's happening. We are killing that kid." Effectively, is what Shirley says. You know, we're not staying in this reality. Yeah. It would have been a really nice conflict between Belinda, Kate, and Shirley if Kate was like, "Nah, this is my team. Listen here, Doc. That kid's dead."
Oh, yes. If she's going to put up more of a fight, and that would be nice.
Therefore, her and the Doctor fall out. And then when she goes into War Between the Land and Sea, she's on this darker trajectory because she really kills Comrade in Lucky Day.
So I agree in principle. I think the trouble it's always one of the problems that's always been there with her character. With her being the daughter of the Brigadier and kind of them wanting to protect his legacy, and there's always this baggage. Yeah. She always brings up that, oh yeah, my father did this, my father did that, you know, I'm his daughter. Every episode is mentioned. Sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. And
my father fought Omega in the 1970s, I'll have you know.
It's like they can't I feel they can't really make her too dark or too violent in the same way that you could with Captain Jack, who was like a brand new character from scratch. And I think there's always that tension down. Like whenever they do anything interesting with her character, it's sometimes a risk of being kind of at the cost of that other stuff, like, you know, the cozy whole idea of Unit and the Brigadier and everything. And so, yeah, I don't know. But I mean, that said, obviously the Brigadier himself, he was a very endearing character, but he wasn't perfect. He would sometimes butt heads with the Doctor, and that was nice to see. You know, a bit of conflict there. You know, lest we forget, he was the one that originally ordered that original batch of Silurians, that original dwelling, that original cave,
that's true,
be blown up in Doctor and the Silurians. And
it's all going to be mentioned
nice as well. My dad, he met the Silurians, the Sea Devils. Yeah,
he nuked all of them.
He nuked them, but that I think actually is really nice, to be honest, because, you know, War Between, it might seem like a bit of a random choice. Unit Sea Devils. I think actually, if you're doing a Unit spin-off,
it's probably the best to mine for.
Exactly. If you're going to go back to their original stories, what have you got? Like, you've got the Yeti, the Great Intelligence, that's been done already. The Cybermen, that's been done loads of times in
death,
Invasion. Yeah. The Autons, again, that's been done quite a bit. And then the next one that you have is the Silurians, in season 7 with John Pertwee. And if we're talking about like lore and history and stuff, the fact that the Brigadier nuked the Silurians, there's a lot to mine. There's a lot to get into there, and like as a kind of backdrop to this new conflict with the Sea Devils, it's like, oh, okay, like, you know, Units are going to know about that. Kate's going to know about that. The the Sea Devils are going to know about that as well. Yeah. So it just lends it a bit more weight, and I think that's actually a really nice pairing, like Units and the Silurian / Sea Devils. You know, to go back to that very foundational kind of conflict, you know, back in the
very urban in the streets. You know what I mean? None of the space whimsical stuff. It's just
going back to kind of how Unit started off. Well, it potentially will be, I think. I mean, that said as well, the trailer that we've seen kind of suggests that Unit's going to be more in the background a bit, which I think is probably what's going to happen, and we're going to follow Barclay and Salt, the Sea Devil, the female Sea Devil, Gugu, Tish Jones, Barclay and Salts.
Do you reckon that's intentional? Do you reckon she's a god?
Well, you have
Do you
to
reckon
wonder,
she's sea god?
Oh god!
By episode 5, it's all going to twist on its head. She's Poseidon.
Yeah, mate. God, maybe. I mean, she looks different to the rest of them, doesn't she? Maybe that's why. Or like, I don't know, like Sea Devil Jesus or something, you know, like the human
Sea Devil
incarnation of like the Sea Devil god.
Oh no, you know the Matt Smith episode, they're going to reference it. You know, when Nazarene goes underground with the old guy, Tony, that's who it is, Nazarene and Tony. When they go underground, we had an interbreeding species program. This is the product of it.
Oh my god, imagine.
Like, I'm joking, but actually, am I? You know, with Russell.
Well, how would they reference that? Because that story took place in 2020. So like, how would they get
Oh,
away
yeah.
with it? Like, by the way, yes, in this alternate timeline or something, or like, you know,
Before the
in
Big Bang.
this little Welsh village that was cut off from the rest of civilization that
Legend.
year, that was in a lockdown of its own, you know. Yeah, no, there's lots there to kind of get into. I think it's just nice to have something coming up, and I'm looking forward to that show. I think hopefully it will be a hit.
Hold up. Is it Pete McTighe writing it?
Pimmy and Russell.
I pronounced that right, haven't I? It's not
McTighe.
McTeague like not
Just
like
like- as in
everyone
like
else
a-
thinks.
like
McTighe, yeah.
McTighe,
Why does
yeah.
everyone call him McTeague?
I don't know, but I know it is McTighe. I guess, to be honest, if you were to see it written down and you didn't know, it's like it's one of those things where it's like, okay, how the heck do I say this? But yes, it's McTighe. Yeah.
Anyway, back to my point. he wrote Lucky Day, but he also wrote Praxius and Kablam. And Kablam has quite
So?
a weird ending where Kablam is like, oh yeah, it's not the corporations that are the problem, it's the people that are the problem.
But people willfully misinterpret that. It's the system is the problem, and they're talking about like the literal physical system, and people assume it's like capitalism. Like, I don't hate that as much as other people do. And even Praxis as well. I mean, our friend Pete, you know, is going on record as saying that Praxis is not his first choice of story to watch. You know, if he's sitting down to watch Doctor Who, but well, you've got the international scope of it there, different countries, things going on in different countries. You can kind of see how it's perhaps going to feed in, and I don't mind that story. You know, it feels like a bit of a missed opportunity to not have the Sea Devils or Autons back at that point, but I don't know. Again, it was like tying everything full circle. It was that era, wasn't it, or that time, or just after Series 11, when we were still getting like standalone stories like that didn't hark back to the past and did their own thing, for better or for worse. You know, so. Actually, there we go. There's an argument for why Praxius actually is good. Fight me in the comments. But yeah, I mean, should we draw this one to a close? It's been great fun. We've got a lot of ground there. It's been good to kind of get into the nitty gritty of some of that. Give us a final thought.
The boss. Hear me out.
Gosh, yeah. Are you going to say John Pertwee, Green Death?
What that would be the predictable choice, because I've already said that prior on the channel, and it still hasn't come true. The boss. I have now gone back and watched the Star Beast, the commentary specifically, because there's a YouTube channel that has uploaded it. Weirdly, right? So there must have been some original plans that have changed. The producer and Phil Collinson knew who the boss was during the time of the Star Beast. Is it the Master?
They did. Yeah, it could be. At this point, I don't know what to think, because I've done so many of the big hitters.
It's got to be something like that.
I think almost the best option would be for it to be Boss from the Green Death.
But it's not going to be.
Well, with the track record in this era, though, of like anagrams and puns and stuff, like I could see it.
This one's just been so obvious.
Hidden in plain sight all along. Yeah, I could see that. It's a shame that Shooty won't be around, obviously, for that now, because that was clearly going to be something for him and for his era, and, you know, to be paid off. It's going to be weird, like, seeing whatever happens with that. Like, is it going to be Billie Piper's Doctor who finds the boss, or like finds Rogue, or all these hanging plot threads? Wouldn't quite be the same, I don't think, Billie Piper and Jonathan Groff, but there we go. But yes, I mean, let us know all in the comments all your thoughts on all this stuff. Great chat. Thanks, Joe, for joining me. I'm sure we'll be doing a lot more of this, you know, as time goes on, as we get news or don't. So we'll be speculating about everything going on.
The beginning of the wilderness
more
years.
More round tables, more everything. Yeah, we've got to stay entertained somehow. Yeah, but hopefully we've entertained all of you at home as well. So there we go. It's been a joy, all that kind of stuff.
Darling.
Well, yeah. How do we end this? I don't know. Goodbye. Best wishes.
Farewell.
Yeah. Fingers crossed for some news.
Oh, hello.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
Very good. Oh, goodbye.
Goodbye.